Hello, everyone. I assume that most of you who joined the live stream know already what has been occurring recently. I just need to turn off the speakers. So anyway, there was a school shooting in Vladislav Ribnikar Elementary School here in Belgrade. The school is in the center of Belgrade. It's rather close to me, maybe like I know 15-minute walk and like 5-minute walk away from my old home where my parents live. Um, so what had happened? Just to start this off, sadly, 8 people had been killed. Uh, the school warden or guard, he was killed first, and then 7 children, all aged 14, as far as I know. They're still fighting for the life of one girl who has suffered serious brain injury due to shooting. And I think that also the history teacher was seriously injured during the attack. And I don't know if they're still fighting for their life or if she's out of danger. So what happened? One of the children, for whatever reason, took his father's revolver, went to the school with a couple of Molotov's cocktails as well. So this could have been even worse. And there he barged in on the history class. First, he shot at the school warden, who died immediately after. Then he went to the history class, where first he shot at the teacher, and then he killed 7 children, one boy and 6 girls. Now, this might not be a hate crime, even though, I mean, it is a hate crime, but it's simply possible that due to the classroom layout and how children tend to, congregate by sex, that maybe simply the girls were closer to the door or whatever. It does not really even matter at this point. Um, how was he able to obtain a gun? It's still unknown. Uh, I don't know how a 14-year-old even managed to kill 8 people, because I've never touched a gun in my life. If you gave me a loaded gun, I I doubt I would have enough of an aim to shoot 8 people. So this really begs the question: how was this child essentially so efficient at the murder? As far as the perpetrator, he was a nice kid, and I hate going through this trope, but he was a loner, and there is a high chance that he was bullied at school. The Minister of Education said that what bullying reports that there were, that that these bullying episodes happened in a private acting school, so outside of the Serbia's state-run education system. However, we know that our ministers um, have a tendency to completely sweep anything bad as regards to the system under the rug. Recently, we had a derailment in one of our cities, Pirot. I think that 3 people died from the fumes from those cisterns that the trains were carrying. And the minister's response from our Minister of Environmental Protection is, I think, a case study of how to do bad PR. She was essentially like, so, what do you want me to do? Huh? That was essentially what was her reaction. Thankfully, the Minister of Education had more decorum, but still, him claiming that he's not aware of any bullying episodes absolutely bears no weight. Um, oh, just a second. So, uh, the perpetrator called the police himself after he killed people in his classroom. He went to the school courtyard, called the police. They arrested him, and his father was arrested as well because he was the legal owner of the gun. Somebody said in the comments that Serbia is the uh, third most armed country in the world, so not really surprised. I have to say I am surprised because this is really difficult to explain, but for some reason, and I have some theories about it, um, us Serbs, well, Slavs in general, we can get violent, but we generally don't get violent towards strangers. Um, you won't have a school shooting. This is the first school shooting in Serbia ever. Um, you won't, in all probability, you won't get robbed at the street. You will get pickpocketed, but not robbed. And cities are generally very safe. However, however, uh, the side effect, I believe that it has with our concept of shame, of bruka or sram, that we care very much what other people will say. And usually, when there is someone from Serbia or of Serbian descent doing something outrageous, uh, what we generally say in such situation, what will the world say? The world might be just like the neighborhood, but it is the overarching mentality. And I think that this mentality is something that tends to prevent really bad cases of crime towards strangers. However, the other side of the medal is that, for example, family crimes don't get reported. For example, a victim of abuse won't report her husband because what will the world say? I can't go out to strangers with my problems, and so on. So there were previous shootings as well, but the one was actually recently in Montenegro. So it's not technically Serbia, but they still count sort of as one country. However, that man was, simply deranged. He had clearly a nervous episode. And also, we had a major shooting in one of our villages some, 15 years ago. The man was a psychiatric case, and he was certain that some women in the village were casting spells on him, and for that reason, um, whatever the reason is, uh, he uh, he killed, I believe, his entire family and a large number of his neighbors. And I recall that moment. He approached this woman on the street carrying a smoking rifle, and he asked her, "Do you do magic?" And the woman is like, "No, no, no," and he left her. I mean, she could have easily been murdered there. Um, why am I saying all of this? This is the first time that a sort of American style school shooting happened here. And on my secondary channel, Orthodox Banter with Boyan, I had a comment. Um, I had a comment that while school shootings are a particularly American phenomenon, and I went in different reasons why I think that these things occur. I also said that it is simply a matter of time before it spreads worldwide because of the internet. Not even so much because of the internet, but because of social media and algorithms. Um, for example, I'll give you an example of Andrew Tate. There is no chance in hell that a person like that would ever become popular. But he does because he knew how to wing the algorithm of TikTok, of YouTube, and so forth. It is sort of similar. Why these, when you get into, for example, true crime, you will get served true crime all the time. And God forbid you click on like a school shooting and then you get school shooting. I had like a stream of thoughts recently in the sense of today. I went to the school to leave flowers and candles, and I simply envisioned how they will put like a plaque or maybe even a monument to killed children and warden. And that's precisely what the murderer wants. Maybe not in this specific case, but all of you who sadly follow school shootings, but by follow I mean simply are exposed to it because you read the news, know that these people thrive on that. Um, they're like vampires, but while traditional vampires feed on blood, these bloodthirsters literally feed on afterlife. Uh, it gives them this sadistic joy to see memorials of their victims, monuments, plaques, and so on. And for every future murderer, it's like I can do I can do one better. I can make a longer list of shootings. And while this specific guy, I don't know what were his precise motives. It was sort of implied that he has ran afoul of his history teacher, but he don't murder teachers because of this. Um, um, you know, easily someone next might be like, I can kill 10, 15, 20, and in my personal opinion, as a Christian, as an Eastern Orthodox Christian, our human desire to build monuments, to keep legacies of people, um, is such a wonderful expression of our inherent belief in resurrection, even if we intellectually completely reject it. But we know that these people didn't die like dogs. Didn't they weren't simply rocks who were shattered. They weren't simply trees that were toppled over by a freak twister or something. They were living, breathing people who are simply no longer with us. And by making these memorials, we're keeping their memory alive, which is a very typical Orthodox expression. Remember us, Lord, in your kingdom. And usually uh, in Serbia, uh, when we give slips for prayer in the church, the priest prays with "Remember, O Lord, your servants." And that's what's so horrible with these murderers because they thrive on that. They thrive on that love for someone who's no longer with us. And maybe that specific murderer won't thrive. I mean, his his successors will. And what's the problem? Are we not to report on this? Are we to remove the names of the victims? And I am all for the complete damnatio memoriae, that is the removal from memory of all people who do such things. Um, but you know, still they are victims. So it's horrible. It's horrible. I have got up rather late today, around 11 a.m., and then I saw the news. And as I was going to gym, I don't do this, but I couldn't resist myself. I literally eavesdropped every person I passed on the street, and everybody was talking about this. I usually would hear like a tidbit, like, "I can't believe evil cult. Why would he do this? He called the police," and so on. So, and you see that this has. I was honestly never in a situation like this. Discounting the NATO aggression on Serbia of 1999, um, I remember it. I remember it quite vividly. I was what, 13 then. However, that was every tragedy is different, um, and we had these floods in Obrenovac. I know, maybe 9 years ago even. Uh, and it still brings community together somehow, but this is a total shockwave, like a total and complete shockwave. I will go through the comments really quickly. So, uh, by the way, I generally read all the comments. However, here I will skip. So I apologize in advance. This is the first time I've went on a live stream where I actually had a lot to say that did not revolve around comments. So sorry. Some people said like people will blame the US for this. Yes and no. Um, the trigger was there, but due to globalization and the internet, especially internet, this will become a global problem. Again, a video on my secondary channel, opinion on the causes of the school shootings. I go through all of this, and basically, it's declining mental health, availability of firearms, that we live in a sort of um, a reality show culture, uh, drug addictions, and so on and so forth. Thank you, Eden. Thank you so much. Uh, okay, I will just go through the. By the way, the church warden. We generally call these people church guards, but and while they are there to guard, it's on assumption that nobody will bring a firearm to school. And this is, I mean, there were individual cases of this happening, but it was usually stupid children bringing like guns to show off to their friends. Nobody ever got hurt, thank God. This is the first time that somebody actually started shooting people. And by the way, um, we have a lot of problem in our education because the teachers' hands are completely tied as regards to troublemakers. When I was little, when I was attending school, whenever a teacher entered the classroom, you were supposed to stand up, as a sign of honor. And uh, if you got bad grades, you could fail a class. And if you fail a class, you might be held back a grade. And if you were a holy terror, you could get kicked out of the school. I'm not really for the one to, desire kneeling on corn, as we say jokingly here, but maybe that is a solution. And I'm about to say something very controversial here, and I apologize to everyone who might be scandalized to this. I truly am sorry, but I'm not really totally against a death penalty in this case, even if the perp is 14 years old. I'm sorry. I knew when I was 14 that murder is unacceptable. You know, murder in any case is unacceptable. Again, I differentiate it from killing. He wasn't really, aimed at. A lot of us had experiences with bullies and were bullied, and nobody of us killed anyone. So, so I will simply go through the comments again. Um, I see that Crisis Reason says, I'd give him time to repent. Again, when it comes to death penalty, I'm really not really pro or against it. However, I think that the argument he be given time to repent is a bad argument because no one has more ample time to repent than a death row inmate. You know the exact moment you will die. Us humans are denied that pleasure, and therefore we need to repent at all the time. If he wasn't killed during the shootout, he has time to repent. Okay, so there you go. And of course, I'm extremely emotional here. Outside of an event of such scope, I will probably be, you know, differently composed, but it is what it is. Um, yeah, one of my most heartfelt prayers that I say, I don't have children, but One of my most heartfelt prayers that I say is, God, please keep my nieces, guard and protect my nieces. Even when my spiritual life goes completely dry, I will make effort to say at least that prayer. And for the life of me, I cannot understand how someone, I mean, you have a child, you love it, you take care of it, you cherish it, you nourish it, you teach it good morals. Uh, you take care of it. It brings you so much joy, happiness, and everything. You have grand plans for it. You hope for it to see its own children and so on. And then, nipped in the bud, it's all gone. And I don't think it was all for nothing. But that is a cross that the parents and their families, even the family of the murderer, will have to bear for the rest of their life. There's there's no way. Um, and I keep thinking of that girl who has suffered serious brain damage, assuming that she lives, what her life will be like, you know? So uh, it's horrible. It's simply horrible. Um, you know, I do not know how to tackle this, how to process this. Um, I must say that the cops around the scene were very nice. One of them allowed me to go under the ribbon to leave flowers and a candle, but it simply, uh, so is there already a motive? Uh, none as of yet. I mean, again, he was probably bullied. He probably had some issues with the history teacher, and that's it. By the way, this school where this happened is in the center of Belgrade. It's the fanciest state-run school there is, and it is adjacent to the fanciest uh, high school in Belgrade. Generally, people from that school, elementary school, would go directly to the elementary school, to the high school after they finish the elementary. Uh, so this wasn't a bad neighborhood by any stretch, and we don't have bad neighborhoods in Serbia. We have poor neighborhoods. We have neighborhoods that suffer from a literal pandemic of utter despair, but rarely when it comes to criminality. You know, I don't. I mean, if I wanted to take a walk at 3 a.m. in Belgrade, I do not know what place I should avoid. By the way, this is me, a guy, saying like, if you're a woman, clearly you will need to take more caution. But still, you know, there's no such thing as a bad neighborhood. Um, I also would like to emphasize that this isn't really a gun debate because I think that the gun debate is something that is so horribly complicated, and any major changes to policies could cause a lot of devastation. Could, but then again, they might prevent. And then you're, if you're a policymaker, you're the one who has to stand behind a certain policy for better or worse. Honestly, it isn't something that I would like to tamper with because I wouldn't be able to bear such a stress. So that is why I'm here drawing YouTube videos, you know, and I probably wouldn't be even capable to reach a policy level maker, thank God. So, um, just a moment. You know, when they caught him, he had um, Molotov cocktails. He had multiple magazines or clips. I don't know what's the difference. Um, and he had a map of school. You know, from what I heard, he has transferred to that class recently, which might be like a year prior. But him having a map of the school, I have to be honest, I think he was simply copying some American school shooter because Serbian schools aren't really all that big, and they have a very set layout. Not in general schools, but individual building will have a very simple layout. You don't need a map, you know. Uh, I hate to say it like this, but he was simply. eh, I think in part he was enjoying the role of a school shooter, you know. And I think that his father is a very successful medical practitioner, you know. So again, this poses a question: where, how did he get a gun, and how was he so good at it? I mean, again, if I had a gun, I would not know how to, charge it anything. Yeah, okay. So Vector 55 says, four Molotovs, two pistols, and five magazines, over 75 rounds in total. Good God, we were. I hate saying it like this, but we were lucky with just eight casualties. But we're not lucky. Even one was too much. Um, Astra the Grim, do we know how many people died? So far, it's eight casualties, one adult, a school warden, and seven children of four, and all of them were 14. I just need to check the news. I've been checking them